in the 12 layoff day program that we believed could have helped close a smaller budget gap. Because in fact, Councilman, we had begun working on a number of cost savings when we knew the $2.7 million state revenue sharing cut was in effect. And I think as you look through the full solution, you'll see that $3 million can be cut a lot easier than $6 million, and that the kinds of movement you can make in a $60+ million budget, if you only need to cut $3, you can do that in a way that's a lot less painless than when you need to get up to what amounts to more than or approximately a 10% across the board cut, especially when you're trying to protect some departments. So that was one of the items that we've been working on. So yeah, so I've done the 5% plus the layoff days plus the 70-30 healthcare package that again I asked to be extended to all exempt employees, which has come up today in the conversation. I believe that the appropriate and reasonable cut to ask from those group of employees was to go to a 70-30, or I proposed 80-20 healthcare sharing, and this body decided to remove them from the affected pool. So that was a $50,000 savings that I had proposed that you set aside. If you extend the 70-30 back to that group of employees, and I'd be happy to bring that resolution forward, that would be another $100,000 savings actually. And I think it would bring the contribution that our exempt employees are making more in line with what we're asking from our unionized employees. So I'm doing the 5%, the 12 layoff days, which amounts to about 8%, and then the health care sharing agreement is approximately another 5%. And my appointees are doing the layoff days and the 70-30 health care. So I'm at about 18%. And they're at about 12 to 13%.
So the appointees have not thus far taken the pay reduction?
Correct.
You didn't mention that.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we did as we were working on what was equitable with our exempt employees and what we were asking for with the unions. Again, they're doing the layoff days and the health care sharing, so that gets them in the 12 to 13% range.
In terms of the negotiations, administration came in, as I understand it, at the 15% number. Is that correct?
Yeah, that target has been consistent since February of 2009. It was the same number that the Mike Brown administration had focused on as a way to roll back the 40% increase in personnel costs we've seen in those departments in the last 5 years.
And the unions have come in at, from your perspective, not quite to the 15%, but they've come in at varying percentages of concessions. Isn't that right?
It's appropriate to acknowledge that all of our unions have put forward proposals that included some cost savings, and I commend them for that. But we have not seen anything that, by the analysis that risk management and the finance department has done, has cracked double digits.
I guess my question is, and I don't run a union shop, so I don't have to negotiate with my employees. But if you come in at 15, it seems to me, if you're truly negotiating, that you would be willing to negotiate. In other words, basically, as I understand it, you're at 15 and you're sticking at 15, and that's not negotiable. So doesn't that, can you respond to that? Well,
Councilman, I don't want to discuss our negotiating strategy publicly, if that makes some sense. I can assure you that this administration has communicated, because I know I have done it myself personally, that I have authorized our negotiating team to seek a 15% cost concession, but we understand what a negotiation means.
Okay. Next thing I wanted to ask, getting to Councilman Lloyd's comment about doing more with less. I've read a couple of the articles on MLive related to the layoffs, and I'm going to paraphrase you, Mayor, but you said something like it's not the number of paychecks, it's the quality of the service.
Right.
So my question to you is, do you believe, or is it your position, that the quality of public safety service is not going to be compromised in any way based on the layoffs that have taken place?
What we believe with police, to take that first of all, is that there will be a slower response to lower priority calls. Right? that's, we've said that from the beginning, that this is a very difficult scheduling challenge. We have a large city with a whole variety of public safety concerns. This force of almost 150 is still fully able to respond to multiple high-priority calls simultaneously. And contrary to the false claims that there are only a handful of officers available to take a call at any given time, you just have to ask yourself, if that's true, what are the other 145 officers doing? Right? Because we have approximately 150 officers with substantial civilian support. So we've just been honest about that. And over time, through the mini stations, through technology, and through some public education, we can reduce some of the calls that come in through 911 that are actually not an emergency call. And 911 is not supposed to act as the single point of contact for the police department. It's supposed to be the number you dial for emergencies. And we have a percentage of our calls that don't fit that criteria, and over time we're going to be able to back those out. As we have the force that we do now, through improvements over time with the in-car technologies, which we have some grant dollars to draw down, through some protocols that allow for faster response and identification of nearby officers, and how one level of call takes precedence over other kinds of activity. We believe that we can deliver, a high-quality public safety system with fewer resources. I mean, you can certainly make the argument that if we were able to, let's say, sign a package of concessions with our public safety unions, bring back a certain number. I mean, we also know that we can put those individuals to good work. They're always the next priority item that you can take on. But we're confident that we're able to cover the core public safety services. And even with the 3 fire station configuration, again, if you look at the map of where fire incidences take place and where those stations are located, the fact that they're fully able to show up and get water on a fire and begin suppression, that's not always what was able to happen when there were 5 stations, or in previous years more, that were open. So the vast majority of fire incidents, our currently open stations are going to be able to arrive at approximately the same time. And we believe that there are some efficiencies that we can gain, both in collapsing the time between 911 receipt of call and dispatch, and also between the time that a station receives a call and they actually get out of the door. So if you can speed up, if you can shave 20 seconds off of both of those 2 steps, then you've got 40 more seconds than you used to, and that'll get you another mile or so from your station. So if that station's 3/10 or 4/10 of a mile farther away from an incident than a previous station was, but you can get moving 40 seconds faster, than you can make that up.
Thank you, Mayor. I have some for the police chief, but I'm going to yield the floor and let other folks talk, and we can come back to me later.
Absolutely. Councilman Lawler.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess this is where the rubber meets the road, and it's really a little disappointing the way our communication between the administration, you, Mr. Mayor, and with this council.
Councilman, this administration has been present in more meetings than any administration as long as anybody can remember. So I'm not sure